Alright everybody, welcome back to another session of Maya. We're going to be kind of carrying on from where we left off last week. We're going to do a very simple camera move, nothing too exciting. And we're just going to we're going to block in a couple of pieces of geometry into the scene, or show you at least show you what it would look like. Um, I've added in these two additional pieces to the scene that we were looking at before. So just these urns with the trees in. And that's about it. Everything's using the same shader. So if we change something on one of them, it's going to change it on all of them. So let's take a look at some of the edits I made. So I took this original image and I've just done some very simple edits to this. We dropped in this wall, added a bit of graffiti and took the background out. Didn't even have to take the background out actually, because we're not going to be using any transparency in this. But if we had done, that would have helped. So let's take that and drop that onto this house and see what that looks like. Let's go to our hypershade. Let's go to our house and we'll just swap it out. So we'll go here, and it's the house edit. And there we go. And all of a sudden these urns have become invisible. They haven't become invisible. What's actually happened is it's just using the same shader, so it's projecting everything through it. So we can give them a new shader. So let's go to Hypershade. Let's create another Lambert. Here we are. Let's call them tree. Okay. And we can drop tree onto this and tree onto that. And let's go through another file, change its projection to perspective, and if that was closed, change that to your projection cam, and now let's drop the original one back on, and there we go, they're back in. We can see that a bit better if we take the wireframe off. Oh, and of course we can take the diffuse all the way down and the ambient color all the way up. There we are. And if we have a look at it on through a different camera, maybe the perspective camera, you can then see, there we go, you can see, and it looked terrible because you've got stretching, because obviously you can't, it doesn't know what to put there, so it's just pushing that texture all the way through, and you'll get that on the other side of here if I could turn that around, and on the tree, you see. Okay, so we've got our trees in, we've got our edited wall. Maybe let's put a different background in. So what we could do, we just turn that off. One quick way to do this is to chop a sphere in half. So let's do that. Put that in there. Enlarge it. Maybe something like that. Okay. Let's go to faces. There we go. Okay, now the normals are facing the wrong way. So we'll project mode. Do that. Yeah, we're on polygons. We reverse them. Now they're facing inwards. Now I basically went online and I found, oh, we're not going to see it there. I found a panorama. Just go online, find a super large panorama, and download that, and you can use that, or use one of your own background images if you like. What we can do is we can again, let's see, create another Lambert. We'll call that sky. There we are. I think that took. Cool. That. Okay, we could say fit, and we could turn it on to maybe cylindrical. And again, let's turn the diffuse down and turn the ambient color up. There we go. Oh. Let's give it a yeah, something like that might work. There we are. Just a little bit lower maybe. Seem to have problems grabbing that. There we are. There we are. Since we're only going to be passing by like this, that'll be fine for our purposes. Right. Now, let's edit the ground. Well, what we can do, if we've already got a texture on there, and we want to say we want to extend this out, this brick sort of all the way up here. What we can do is we can bake this out and then reopen it in Photoshop and re-import it back in. So if we open up our Hypershade, and we click the object that we want to target or edit, and then we click the texture with Shift. So we have that selected, we hold down Shift. At the moment, because it had all the same shader on there, it was still using the house shader. And then what we can do is we can go up to Edit, and it's convert to file texture. And if you hit the little box beside it, it should bring up. It's jumped onto my other screen. Hold on a second. Here we go. Should bring up a little box, and this will let you select the resolution. So I've got it as a 2K image, and then just hit convert, and it will chug along for a little minute, depending on your resolution and how good your machine is. And then it'll auto assign it to the piece of geometry, and then we can pop into Photoshop and swap it back out. There we go. Let's call it house 1. And if you get these little icons, these weird icons, if you want them to show up what the texture is, if you just double click, it'll load up the texture. And if you want to make these larger, what you can do is you can hold down Alt and right click, and it'll right mouse button drag, it'll make them larger, and then you can sort of drag it to the left and make them smaller. So anyway, we've got house 1, and if we want to know what the texture name was, just click on there. So it's called it Simpler 001 Projection 1. Jesus. Let's call it that. So let's open that up. Actually, probably. There we go. And that's projected it onto the ground. So that's what we were seeing there. And this is the square version of that. So what we can do is, if we hold down Control J, duplicate that, and let's just bodge a load of this up here. Actually, I'll tell you what. So we want to move that over there. So there we go. Just quickly get that on there. Nothing too pretty here by any stretch of the imagination. But you know what? That's all right. Because you guys are going to do an amazing job. This is just to show you how it's meant. So here we go. Full marks for making it look totally shit. Yep. What a steaming pile this looks like. So anyway, there we go. What more could you want? Flatten it, save it. And reload it. And there we go. You now have that floor tiled out. Isn't that amazing? Okay. Let's move this back a bit. I reckon it'll look better. Ah, there we go. And you can see it's still projecting from that camera, so we need to bake that texture down as well. So let's move that back into place. Okay, so we could repeat the procedure for this. I'm not going to bother because it's just doing the same thing again. What you would do is you'd open up the Hypershade, create a new texture, assign it, la-di-da, do all the same thing, select the right camera, the projection cam, and then you would select this, you'd select your new shader that you'd created, whatever that one might be, and then go to Edit, Convert to Texture, and then that will bake that down, and it'll lock that texture into place for you. Right. What else do we need to do? Right, let's say we need to fix the side of this building. Okay. Well, what we could do is we could create another texture and then sort of just bake it out and stick it on the side of here. So let's create another camera. Okay. let's have a look through it. So this is camera 1. Let's select camera 1. Give it the right details, and let's go and let's have a look at this. Okay. Let's get rid of this. Let's stick it on its own layer. Okay. And let's hide it. Right. Let's lock this camera down. And let's render out this. Why is that not hiding? Let's also put that on a layer as well. Hide it. Okay, let's render this out. So there we go. And let's save the image. Let's save it as a Targa. And we'll put house wall. Okay, let's open this up in Photoshop. Here we go. Why is it doing that? Let's just drop it in from here. And it'll be in images. Housewall.tga. Oh, and it's absolutely tiny, so we need to go and rectify that. Back to Maya. And let's take our animation settings, and it's jumped off screen again. Okay. 1920 by 1080. And we will render it from our new camera. That's better. Let's save the image. House wall. There we go. And let's do that again. Okay, so let's sticking something on the side of that. Okay, let's do, I don't know, concrete images. Let's make sure we got large size. Something like that. No, I don't think that's going to be big enough. Alright, fair enough. That'll do. Space on the side there, it's huge. Okay. That'll work. Should come out with an alpha channel. So control and click the alpha channel, select your RGB again, and then select this to mask it out. Let's get rid of some of this. Actually, it doesn't even matter if we go over it, because we're only going to be using that part of the image. Okay. drop its colour down a bit. Mute that. And I don't know, maybe the colour balance it a bit. Bit of red in there as well. Okay. Let's see what we can do. Okay, there's those bits there. What was over there? Seeing if any of the blending modes worked. Yeah, maybe something like that. Okay. Okay, that'll do. Just to show a point anyway. Okay. Save that out. Okay, so we've saved that out as housewall.tga. Get back into Maya again. Okay, let's select those faces. And then what we can do is we can open up the Hypershade. We can create a new shader. Again, Lambert 5, house wall. Okay, and we're going to take a file. We're going to go perspective. We're going to choose the new camera, which we should have named. There we go. And then we're going to pick our image. I'll set it. Okay, so we need to save that back out into source images, housewall.tga. Okay. There we are. Assign that material to the selection. And now if we look at our perspective, you'll see we have the new, and if we go to our Hypershade, and again if we turn the diffuse down and the ambient colour up, a bit easier to see. So You can see the end of this. Since that's what we could do is just edit back over there, but in this case it doesn't really matter. We can just get rid of those. Okay. Next thing we could do is we could actually bring another model in, and maybe, you know, one of your own models. Maybe you've got a different building you want to substitute in there, or some sci-fi creature or something. Let's just do that. Okay, I've got a little gargoyle guy. I'm going to stick in one of these pots. I actually found it as a free model online. Someone had used 123 Catch. It's quite a big asset, so I reduced the polygons down and just cleaned it up a little bit and just saved it out as an FBX. So I'll bring him in. Here he is, little gargoyle man. And if I just separate it, maybe get rid of that and bring him down into there. There we are. There we go. Now let's do a simple little camera move. So what you need to do is create another camera. I think I've actually got one in my scene already, but yeah, animation cam. I'll just turn this off and this off. Once you've created your other camera and plugged in the correct settings for it, if you hit this little button here, it's going to give you a gate mask, and this one here, which is going to give you a resolution gate. So if you haven't set up your aspect ratio yet, if you go to this render settings button, again, it's on my other screen, hold on, and make sure it says 1920 by 1080. And what this does is it will show you 1920 by 1080. This is everything that you're going to render out, and this is what you're going to see. If you hit this little icon here, it's going to sort of mask out the outside. And if you want to completely mask that out, if you go to your camera, this little icon here, there we go, and it should be down in display options, I think. Yeah, that's it, gate mask color, and you can just drag that up to change the color, and you can change the opacity here, so that sort of lops it off there. Just makes it a bit less distracting sometimes. Okay, so we're going to select a view that we want. Let's say maybe something like this. 120 will do, and just press S. That will key those values for you, and then select it to where you want it to go. Maybe something like that. Press S again. Oh, my mistake. Let's try that. There we go. And a simple move. And then we've got, there's some touch-up bits, like inside here on the side of this wall. We could take that wall, export it, make sure the inside is painted in. And again, you'll notice, like I mentioned in our previous lesson, if you've got reflective surfaces, you're going to see that it's a fake move, because none of these reflections are moving. But that's the basis of taking a flat image and turning it into sort of a 3D model. So have a go anyway. Hope that was of help, and look forward to seeing you guys next week.